Get ready to hear a terrifying and interesting story. Enjoy listening. Title: The Shadow in the Snow. It was the coldest winter in decades. The forest outside the small town of Black Hollow was a frozen wasteland, its trees skeletal and silent, their branches heavy with frost. The townsfolk whispered of strange happenings in the woods, disappearances, eerie lights, and the sound of laughter echoing where no one should be. But no one dared to venture deep into the forest to find out. No one, until now. Four friends, Ethan, Marcus, Jack, and Liam, had decided to spend their winter break in a remote cabin on the edge of the forest. They were all in their mid-20s, adventurous and skeptical of the town's superstitions. To them, the stories were just that, stories. But they were about to learn that some legends are born from truth. The Arrival. The cabin was old but sturdy, nestled in a clearing surrounded by towering pines. The friends arrived just as the sun was setting, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink. They unpacked their gear, built a roaring fire in the stone hearth, and cracked open a few beers. The atmosphere was jovial, filled with laughter and the promise of a relaxing getaway. As night fell, the temperature plummeted. The wind picked up, howling through the trees like a mournful wail. Ethan, the most pragmatic of the group, dismissed it as just the storm. But Marcus, who had always been more sensitive to the supernatural, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. "Did you hear that?" Marcus asked suddenly, his voice low. "Hear what?" Jack replied, shuffling the deck of cards. "Like, whispering. Outside the window." The room fell silent. They all listened, but all they heard was the wind. Liam laughed nervously. "You're spooking yourself, man. It's just the storm." But Marcus wasn't convinced. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside, despite the others' protests. The snow crunched under his boots as he scanned the tree line. At first, he saw nothing. Then, just as he was about to turn back, he caught a glimpse of movement, a shadow darting between the trees. It was too fast to be an animal, too tall to be human. "Guys!" Marcus called out, his voice trembling. "There's something out here." The others joined him, but by then, the shadow was gone. They laughed it off, teasing Marcus for his overactive imagination. But as they turned to go back inside, Ethan froze. There, in the snow, were footprints leading toward the cabin. The problem was, they only went one way. There were no prints leading to the spot where the shadow had been, only away from it. The disappearance. The next morning, Marcus was gone. They searched the cabin, the surrounding area, and even ventured into the forest, calling his name. But there was no sign of him. Just as they were about to give up, Jack spotted something strange, a set of footprints leading deeper into the woods. They followed them, their unease growing with every step. The footprints stopped abruptly at the base of an ancient oak tree. Its trunk was gnarled and blackened, as if it had been struck by lightning. Hanging from one of its branches was a single, tattered scarf, Marcus's scarf. But that wasn't what made their blood run cold. Carved into the tree was a message, the letters jagged and hurried. "I am him now." The first encounter. That night, the remaining three friends huddled by the fire, too scared to sleep. The wind had died down, leaving an eerie silence. Then, they heard it, a faint knock at the door. Ethan grabbed the fireplace poker and approached the door cautiously. When he opened it, there was no one there. Just more snow. But when he turned back to the room, he froze. Sitting in Marcus's usual chair by the fire was Marcus. Or at least, something that looked like him. His eyes were hollow, his skin pale and waxy. He smiled, but it was wrong, too wide, too sharp. "Marcus?" Ethan whispered. The thing that looked like Marcus tilted its head. "Not anymore," it said, its voice a distorted echo. "I'm better now." Jack and Liam screamed as the thing lunged at Ethan, its hands clawing at his chest. Ethan fought back, but it was unnaturally strong. With a final, desperate swing of the poker, he knocked it back. The thing let out a guttural scream and vanished into the shadows. The second disappearance. The next morning, Ethan was gone too. Jack and Liam were terrified. They packed their things and tried to leave, but the snow had piled up too high. They were trapped. That night, they heard the whispers again, this time, inside the cabin. They barricaded themselves in the bedroom, but it didn't matter. The thing that had taken Marcus and Ethan found them. When the storm finally cleared, search parties found the cabin empty. The only clue was a journal left on the table. The last entry, written in Ethan's handwriting, read, "It's not just taking our souls. It's living our lives. And it's getting better at it. If you find this, run. Don't let it see you. Don't let it become you." The aftermath. Years later, hikers in the forest reported seeing 3 men wandering among the trees. They looked normal at first, but something about them was off. Their movements were too smooth, their smiles too perfect. And their eyes were hollow. The shadow in the snow is still out there, waiting. It doesn't just want your soul. It wants your life. And once it takes you, no one will ever know the difference. The legend grows. The story of the shadow in the snow became a local legend, passed down through generations. Parents warned their children to stay away from the forest, especially in winter. But every year, a few brave, or foolish, souls would venture into the woods, drawn by the mystery and the thrill of the unknown. Most returned unharmed, their skepticism reinforced. But a few never came back. And those who did, they were never quite the same. They spoke of whispers in the wind, of shadows that moved on their own, of a presence that watched them from the trees. The shadow in the snow is patient. It can wait. It has all the time in the world. And when the time is right, it will take another soul, another life. And the legend will grow. The final warning. If you ever find yourself in Black Hollow, and you hear the whispers in the wind, remember this: the shadow in the snow is real. It is ancient, and it is hungry. It doesn't just want your soul. It wants your life. And once it takes you, no one will ever know the difference. So stay out of the forest. Especially in winter. Because the shadow is waiting. And it will find you.